Well, hello everyone. My name is Wayne Dean with the ACA Business Club and 3D Pro Services. We are on the air with our weekly sales club session. Today I have a special guest. I'm very happy to introduce Janell Osborn from Whitespace Graphics. Our conversation today is going to be on branding, and we were talking off the air a little bit about the setup to how I do this. Um, I think as far as in sales, and most people watching this are in sales, there's four steps. Basically, get the name, get the lead, do the marketing activities to get somebody to contact a call. Turn that into an appointment. Be able to pick up the phone and call people. So we'll talk about that today. Then do the presentation and then close. Those are the four steps for most salespeople want to know something about. It's amazing to me sometimes, people will say, well, teach me how to close. And it's not a closing issue because they haven't seen enough people. Or I'll get the same thing with somebody will say, well, I know how to close, but my problem is I haven't done enough prospecting and marketing. So I always like to start these sessions by how both of us would like this to end. And at the end, most people, well, here's how you can contact me. Why don't you tell people, how to contact you, and we'll do it again at the end. So if people like what they hear today, tell them how to get a hold of you.
Okay, if you want to get a hold of me, you can use email, which is Janell, Janell, at whitespacegraphics.com. My website is whitespacegraphics.com, and my phone number, 970-420-4363. And
Great.
I'm right here in Fort Collins.
So hopefully we give you enough content today that you'll be encouraged to call her. And again, as we said earlier off air, she's not just somebody that's got to be in Colorado. You've got clients all across the country. So any of the ACA members that are watching this in Kansas City can give you a holler and talk to you. My clients in Wisconsin across the country can give you a holler.
Graphic design is it's digital these days. So even if it's print material, it's something that I can design, send to you, or send to the printer of your choice. If you need a printer here, I have contacts here and they can send it out to you. So it's very easy. So wherever you are, it really doesn't matter. We can work together.
And then from my perspective, this will be a great meeting if at the end, if they haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, that people do that because this is recorded. All of my weekly sessions, we do this every Thursday at 2. Every one of my sessions is recorded and then posted up on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is real simple. It's just YouTube/my name, WAYNEDEHN. Right now there's over 100 different sessions over the years.
I love listening to your stuff.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks. So
I'm subscribed.
So subscribe. The rest of you subscribe also. So again, we're going to talk about the first step of those four I was talking about, as far as the branding of one's name, logos, how to get the right message across to people. So those of you that are watching salespeople, when you pick up the phone, the idea is let's make it that an easier phone call. I mean, sometimes that phone, whether it be your cell phone or a regular desk phone, that thing feels like 10 pounds when it comes to pick up that phone because you're thinking, you know what, they weren't expecting my phone call. They're not going to want to hear from me. And
they're going to say no.
They're going to say no already. Yeah, we have all that negativism that we can't pick up the phone. So if we can give you some tips today to help them pick up the phone, then that'll be easier. So is there any place specific you want to start? The logo, and by the way, my logo that she designed, so she did a fantastic job. I gave her a couple of ideas of what I'm looking for. I have 3D Pro Services, so she created the 3 different peaks there, which looks exactly kind of like the mountains that you have here. It's almost so many people in Wisconsin, in Colorado, have mountains as a logo. Mm-hmm. You did a great job of making it look like mountains, but again, not making it look like everybody else's. How did you do that? How did you come up with that when I just had a conversation with you about what I'm trying to do? How do you do that?
I tend to just make mental notes about, I like to ask, what is your favorite color? I like to start with, like the visual stuff, or what is your idea of what you want this logo to be? And so usually people, I had one of the first logos that I created when I was here was a massage therapist, and she was just starting out. And she had no idea, it was like body bliss, body, mind, and soul. So it was body bliss. she just didn't know what she wanted. And then all of a sudden she said, I like cranes.
I like
And
cranes, okay.
And so we incorporated a crane into the shape of the B for Body Bliss and used one big B and a crane and then created her logo from there. And she's like, oh my God, that is amazing, And so it's just kind of taking little.
Well, I remember the colors that I used, the colors I said to her, my fraternity colors I really like were garnet and gold. And so she took the garnet and gold and put it into my logo.
And I
Yeah,
wanted to incorporate the ACA
that's
as well, because that is another branch to, that's an offset to the
what we
3D
do.
Pro
Yeah.
services. And so it was easy to be able to just kind of, when you put those logos together, they're going to match, a little better so that you can kind of promo them together if you want to.
So what does the logo do for somebody? I mean, I know a lot of people spend a lot of money on logos and brand, but the logo itself, anything specific that it does for someone?
Well, I mean, you definitely need to figure out who your target market is.
Okay.
Because let's use the example of a dentist. If you are driving around and you see this big sign of a dentist that is red and they're using very pointy fonts, I can almost guarantee you your first reaction, whether conscious or subconscious, is no way, Jose. Because first thing you're going to think of when you see red is
blood.
Second thing you're going to think of when you see all these pointy fonts is
a sharp instrument.
Sharp instruments.
Pain.
Yes,
Yeah.
pain. Yes. And I don't want that.
Okay.
I want a good experience. I want calmness. I want it quick and easy.
But how does the logo, because if you think about some of the most famous logos, the Nike swoop, doesn't tell me what Nike does. Does it? What's what am I trying to tie in?
With the swoop, it has movement. It's simple so that they've done enough branding and marketing to be able to use that swoop without the name, and you know what it is. It's very simple. It's very iconic. I mean,
well, with my logo, the 3 peaks, because it's 3D, there's 3 elements: sales, fractional sales, sales management, club. So I get that we were able to take 3 peaks, diamond, and kind of convey what we're going for.
Right.
But some other companies that you see the image they have, like AT&T's the sphere, the blue sphere for. How important is it that the actual symbol represent and tell people what you do, or is it just branding that people associate it with?
I think sometimes it can be the branding.
Okay.
That as long as you market it and keep it consistent, that people will start recognizing it, that it doesn't necessarily have to.
Well, but
it should mean something. There should be some limit. It shouldn't just be some random.
Yeah, but some of the really big companies, they got a lot of marketing money. They could spend a lot of money to promote a logo. And if I put those logos up, you could immediately tell me what company it is. Some of the people are watching today, small business guys, they don't have money to promote that logo to get that name recognition. So I guess that's where my question is: how important is it on that small business guy that logo kind of convey what their business is?
I think, for smaller businesses, I think you need to be a little more not so abstract when it comes to your logo, just because, I mean, it's definitely something that within your sphere of success, I mean, you can't really compare yourself, with Nike as opposed to me at White Space Graphics. I mean, I don't have the reach. I don't have the money to be, blanketing the entire world.
Well, I had to be careful. The original name of my company was 3D Training LLC because I did sales training. And the 3D came from my last name, Wayne Dehn, Lori Dehn, Tyler Dehn, 3Ds.
Right.
Okay. But I'd get people say, oh, what do you train? Dogs? You a dog trainer? Because the 3D training didn't tell people So I always had to do a tagline like sales and management training.
Well, that's a whole nother, you know.
But I've seen people use like cute because they use their dog as their logo.
Mhm.
And then, what are they selling? Are they selling dogs or is the logo? So I guess that's that question I have.
I mean, it all depends on how, I mean, that's all a part of the branding is if you have a specific reason for using a dog in your logo and it's not pet related. Like, I think some beer companies will use animals
Well, yeah,
or,
Anheuser-Busch uses the Dalmatians and they've used
yeah,
and
Fat Tire uses a bike,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but they're consistent enough with it that when you see it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I remember seeing that. I know what that is. And then you start associating a bike with Fat Tire or you
So are
start.
you okay with the people who are watching that they send you
Mhm.
their logo so you can kind of evaluate it for them? Especially that guy that decided, oh, I'm going to create a logo cheaply. And so he just takes a font of a D and boy, 3D. And how do you feel about someone just
I would love to do that if people are willing to get
be open to
honest,
criticism?
honest criticism. I'm very honest. If it's a decent logo, I'm not gonna bash on it. I mean, I'm always gonna have ideas to how to improve.
Okay.
Just wanting to, put my little touch on it. But that's just, the business side of me going, I would love to have some business,
Yeah.
to help, but I will be honest, if I think a logo is fine, if it's working and you've had it for a while and and you like it
Right.
and people are starting to
Especially
recognize
if they've already invested time to brand that logo and people are starting to
Exactly,
identify with it. And then, okay.
I mean, I've used my logo.
So could there be variations though, where the
Oh,
logo changed,
absolutely.
but because the graphics might be a little bit different, or like you say, the font doesn't fit? So that's
That's
something you can help somebody with.
You can tweak things and you can have different variations based on the space that because sometimes like say on social media or on some ad, you need something that's 400 by 400 pixels and it has to fit within this box. But my logo, when I first did it, was all out in one line, White Space Graphics LLC. So that's really long. And so if I put it in a 400 by 400 box, it's going to be this tiny little thing, So then I have a variation where it's stacked.
Right.
So then I have a stacked logo that can fill up that space a little better, or sometimes you can just use an icon or the graphic if you have a graphic.
Okay.
Some logos don't have graphics and that's okay.
So let's move on to print material. Let's somebody gets a good graphic or a good logo.
Mhm.
What are some of the things they should watch out for, or that you see people aren't doing, or as far as in their print materials to get their message across? I mean, everybody says, sales guys sit right now call somebody and say, "Well, send me something, mail me something."
Right.
And so, or then people say, "Well, go to my website, or I'll send you a brochure." What do you think people are missing now when they're sending information or sending people to a website? What tips you have?
Well, I've had my fair share of brochures given to me that I can point out, like a Word document, a PowerPoint, that's put into a brochure. It's just, I mean, it's just screams, that I did this myself, or I had my 14-year-old nephew create my brochure for me, or they don't have anything. They just have, the 3 columns on a brochure and you can't deviate from that. And it's just blocky or it doesn't have any pictures, or if it does have a picture, it just doesn't fit with the material that
Okay.
you're working with,
I think the biggest problem people make on brochures, and you can back me up or tell me I'm wrong, is they don't really understand what they're trying to do with the brochure. Are they really trying to educate the customer on everything? Or are they just trying to get that customer, get enough information to say, I got to call you? It's kind of like a 30-second commercial at your networking events. The 30-second commercial isn't to tell them everything about what you do.
Right.
It's to design that at the end of that meeting, that person wants to come up and see you and say, tell me more.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing in brochures? You seeing people putting too much content, not enough content? What do you
I've seen a lot of both, of not enough content and way too much content. It's like, I don't know if you've ever gotten one of those brochures where there's no way you're going to read it because it's just so much context that you're just like, nope. And you just blank. You maybe read the first couple lines and you're just like, and then you just
when we go
put
back
it
to
aside and
yeah,
then that's it, you know?
Well, that's
You
where I
look at
kind
the
of wanted to go
pictures
with
and-
this conversation, because when we talk about the 4 steps I said before, is marketing to create the lead, turn that lead in appointment by appointment setting, calling,
Mhm.
make a presentation, and then close. So I think what happens is salespeople are hoping that their brochure, or the marketing department spent so much time putting a brochure together, they think that's going to be the presentation.
That'll be the
for 'em.
presentation. No,
We want to just get the appointment. So my system is, I just want to tease people enough. So that as I was telling her earlier, most of it I do what's called my 3D system. Every lead that I get should be pre-selected, meaning I think I know that they might need my product or service. I'm not spending a lot of marketing dollars on somebody that wouldn't fit. Precondition, they get something from me. With the way things are with email, direct mail, all these processes, no call should be cold call.
right.
They should know something about me. And then preheat it, meaning they know I'm going to be calling. So by the time I do even a 4 or 5 touch program where I send somebody an introduction email, I send them my newsletter, I send them a white paper. The last email I send somebody is, hey, I typically make my phone calls on Thursday at starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. If that's too early, let me know. And I get people will send me an email. I'll be on a plane. Don't bother trying to call me then. But I want everybody to know I'm going to be calling them.
Yeah.
Because it makes it easier, as I said earlier, to pick up that 10-pound phone now. Because and it also forces me, because then I sent out 20 letters this week telling people I'm going to call you Thursday morning.
Right. And then you don't.
Well, yeah,
You
so
know,
it's in my system to push, because salespeople, what we do is we tend to wait. We sit there and say, we have what we call the round to it. I'll get around to it. I'll get around to my cold calling.
Yeah.
But if you tell a bunch of people, I'm going to call you Thursday morning, you start doing it.
See, now that's one of my non-visual branding
What's that?
pieces, is to do what you say you're going to do.
Well, yeah, definitely.
You
So
know,
follow
people
up.
just need to expect, if you say you're going to do something, just do it. Or at least make contact with somebody that you can't do something that you said you were going to do, but that they are aware of it and you don't just
Well,
not
that's that
do
lost
something.
art of just a customer's care.
Exactly.
This is the other training I do. When we talk about customer service,
Mhm.
I think customer service should be rebranded as customer care.
Right.
Do you care enough about this customer to let them know that, hey, I won't be able to fulfill that obligation, as I said before, but at least I've acknowledged it and I'm here.
Yeah.
You obviously see a lot of bad examples of people not following through on what they said they were going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what do you see other non?
Well, if we're on the customer service side, I think a lot of the really large businesses have lost touch with customer service. And I think some of these more progressive businesses that are almost all online type businesses have lost touch with customer service because, first of all, it is a challenge to talk to somebody.
Okay, what do you mean by that? It's a challenge to talk to somebody from whose
Well,
perspective?
From the person, like me, say I'm calling some big business and I have an issue or
Okay,
a question, just a question, even if it's just a question about something. And you get stuck in these phone mazes that you can't get out of, or you're put on hold for an hour,
gee, none of us have
And,
experienced
uh,
that, no.
No, or these online businesses where you have like the chat box that pops up, but then it turns out to be just some chat bot. And
An AI
I've
version.
had that. I'm like, I recently had just placed an order for something. And from my experience with, I didn't get a confirmation email, but it said that I was gonna get a confirmation email and I didn't. And I'm like, okay, did I miss something? Did the order get placed? So I went on and here was this little chat bot. And I'm like, I need to find out if my order went through. What's your order number? I don't know. I didn't get a confirmation. And then it got to this point where this bot or whoever was on the other line was like telling me that they canceled my order. And I'm like, I don't want my order canceled. I just want to know if I even placed it. And then eventually it was just a nightmare.
So you work with a lot of vets,
I do.
veterinarians, not
Yes.
veterans, but
Veterinarians.
veterinarians. What are you doing for them? What are you doing as far as in the digital marketing space for a veterinarian?
I work kind of in a specific area of veterinary care. I am part of a organization called the International Association of Animal Hospice and Palliative Care. So they do hospice, palliative care, euthanasia is a lot of these home-based businesses. So they're not a full service vet, but a lot of these are, they go to your home and they will help with hospice
Euthanasia
care
and
and
care. Okay.
yeah, hospice care and euthanasia.
Okay, so how are
And
they getting
so-
their message to get clients you're developing materials for them, marketing materials? Is that?
Yeah, and it just, it really across the board, I mean, that area, it needs to be very calming. It can't be harsh. It just needs to have a soft feel to it when it comes to fonts. The photos that are chosen, you don't want some picture of a dog having surgery in a brochure.
Well, it sounds obvious to you. I would have thought, well, maybe that's what we're trying to do, show somebody this is what we do.
Because a lot of these people are in a stressful situation, when they're calling these vets where they're saying, I think my dog is dying, or I think my dog is really sick, or they've been diagnosed with inoperable cancer and I don't know what to do. And so they're stressed. And so you need materials and your branding needs to be very calming. And I had a friend of mine, she's a friend, she's around here, and I'm not going to say her name just because I think, oh,
Yes, yeah, okay.
but we would talk on the phone and she'd be like, hey, Janelle, what's going on? Da, da, da. She's from the Midwest and stuff. And then sometimes I'd call and she didn't have her, I don't know if she just didn't look at who was calling or what, but she was in her work voice. And it was, hi, this is,
Calming,
how are you doing?
style.
And, I'm like, it's Janelle. She's like, oh, hey.
So those of you that are listening to understand the disc profile, she's probably an S, calm, steady, laid back.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was her attitude and her style.
But that was, okay, so was that her natural style? Or that was just the way she was at work, and then she's a different style?
A different style outside of work. I mean, she's a very sweet person.
Okay.
Very, very sweet
Well, I
person,
think
but her
that's the mistake,
style.
that's the
Yeah.
mistake salespeople make. They have this, their calls sound like, hi, how are you today? And they get into this rhythm of like, well, I'm Wayne Dehn, I'm from that. And I
Yeah.
think people have gotten jaded to that. The other night, the phone rang and my wife picked up the phone in a moment of weakness. She didn't do the call ID. And I hear her go, no, he's not interested. Click, and hung up. And I went, who was that? She goes, oh, it's a guy from the boat company, wanted to sell you a boat. And I go, I wanted to talk to him. I filled out a card at the boat show. But because he went into that rhythm, she treated him like every other salesperson.
Mhm.
Instead of him calling up, hey, it's Wayne, I'm curious, I've got this card here your husband filled out. Not sure if he really was interested in a boat. If he had acted like that, she would have said, oh yeah, here's the phone. When
Yeah.
we get into
Mhm.
that, if you look, act, and sound like every other salesperson, the prospect will treat you like every other salesperson.
Exactly.
So since we're in this digital space, what are things that we can do with our marketing materials so that we don't look and sound like everybody else? Any thoughts you have on that?
I
mean, is that something you try and concentrate on so we're not duplicating something?
You want to try to have your own look and feel. I mean, there's a lot of duplication when it comes to, and expectations when it comes to certain industries, since I'm in the vet industry area, when you have this, the euthanasia space, there's an expectation that you're gonna be calm and reassuring and,
Yeah, you don't want to crack jokes.
yeah, you don't wanna,
Dead,
you don't wanna
dead
be.
dog jokes don't go over real well on those.
Exactly, so you just have to kind of have that idea. And I think it's great to have things written down, have your branding, identity, and personality written down so that if for some reason, say, I'm a one-person show, and so even I could sometimes forget that, my style is to listen, my style is to be calming, to be reassuring, and let people know what is my style of design and is it going to fit for you? It might not fit for you. There's some people that just love the massively crazy and chaotic design styles, of young people. And, I could probably do it, but it's not my style.
So that leads to your actual company name, White Space.
White Space Graphics. It's
So
called.
is that the mistake? Are people putting too much? We're not putting enough white space? What's going on as far as when we design any type of visual aid in marketing our materials?
There definitely needs to be more white space put into designs that I've noticed.
What's the psychology behind that?
It gives the reader's eye a chance to rest and process.
That's the thing. We put too many bullet points, but if you're doing those bullet points, you want a little bit more space. Any ideas, font sizes,
Well, I mean, if you're
popular fonts to use?
Yes, I mean, like on websites, a lot of times the fonts that people use are they call it sans serif font. So you know how I think everybody knows what Times New Roman is.
Most popular.
So they have
newspapers used to be printed, so
they have little feet, right? So that's a serif, and that allows the eye to follow along with a lot of words. So like books will almost always be written with a serif font so that the eye can read from line to line and follow.
I was told once because when we learned how to read in school, remember we had the lines graphed at the paper with the
Right,
lines.
and that's kind of
So that keeps us on a line.
Keeps you on a line.
So if you use a font where maybe there's not that foot on it, it's hard for the reader or the eye to follow. Is that okay?
But a lot of times on the web, it's the sans serif font that's used a lot more often.
Okay.
Unless there's a lot of text, I think they would probably want to switch back. But usually with, websites and stuff, it's kind of chunks, little bits of information here and there, and then the headlines and, that kind of stuff. And you can be a lot more creative with larger fonts and
this
stuff.
Will be maybe a difficult question. Your clients could be more successful if they would just
listen to me.
Listen to you, okay? And what aren't they listening about? Do they have this preconceived notion of what they believe, and they don't understand some of the professional work you've done to tell somebody, hey, no, that red color, Mr. Denneth, isn't a good idea.
I had a client that was just like that. I changed
though. Come on.
No, it was not. No, that they just had ideas of what they wanted, and I didn't really agree. I mean, I was trying to be as accommodating as I possibly could. And I remember sending him at some point just a point by point email of why I felt they shouldn't do something. It was this large promotional brochure, and I was banging my head against the wall because he would not listen to anything I had to say. And so I made the brochure how he wanted it. He loved it, but it did not go into my professional portfolio to show other people because
Well,
Listen to me.
you touched on it earlier. It's understanding this marketing material that you have, whether it be digitally posted or whatever.
Mhm.
What's the purpose? I mean, if you're writing the company annual report, yeah, there's a lot of content, a lot of information, a lot of charts and graphs, and people are going to slowly read it and come back to it. But if you're trying to get somebody to take your phone call,
You
or
don't-
educate somebody just a little bit on who you are before you call them, it's a completely different process, obviously.
Right.
And everybody knows that.
And we kind of touched on this before about not trying to tell somebody everything you do. And a friend of mine used to say, don't throw up on people.
Yeah. Well, that's most salespeople are taught to show up and throw up.
Don't
Well,
throw up on people.
let me tell you why that happens. Company hires somebody and they spend the first 2 weeks product knowledge, teaching them, oh, we're going to put you in this, you're going to meet with them, you're going to, and our company's better than this company, and you get 2 weeks of product knowledge and you think, wow, they just spent 2 weeks on my training. This must be important. I guess I got to go regurgitate it.
Right.
And so you go back and you throw up all this stuff, or a salesperson thinks, boy, to show credibility that I understand my product and service, I'm going to educate this person on how much I know. And I think that's what we try and do also with brochures and marketing materials. We try and educate this person on how smart we are and why we're the latest, greatest, most improved, instead of just focusing on what do we want, what action do we want that person to take?
You want to, I think in a brochure, because you know that people buy emotionally.
Right, people emotionally validate logically later.
Absolutely. And so you want to pull out emotion in some way out of your marketing materials. So
Okay,
that
so
they're
that's-
emotional, so that they, like in my brochures, since I deal with veterinarians, I have a lot of animals on my websites and on my brochures. And so you just, so I want to pull out that, oh,
Okay.
Well,
words.
and they're like, oh, she loves animals, and so she can relate to me because I deal with animals all the time, and she seems compassionate, and that, so she'll be able to understand what I'm going through when I go to these appointments all the time, and what I want to, so then I can relate emotionally to the veterinarians.
It fits with what we do in training, because in sales training, we say people buy emotionally. So use emotional words in your materials. Like, are you frustrated, worried, concerned, bothered? Those are all emotional words that elicit action. Yeah, it worries me that I'm not getting this or that. I'm concerned that my current vendor has taken me for granted and just assumes I'm always going to buy from them. So are you seeing people use emotional words, or are they just telling people the bullet points why we're the greatest, latest, most improved, why you should buy from me? When you tell somebody, here's the other line. My students have heard this one. Prospects believe only half of what a salesman says, but 100% of what they say. We don't argue with our own data. I'll argue with yours, but I won't argue with mine. So is that message getting across in digital marketing and materials of, I don't know if you could use my product or service. I don't know if what I've done for over 3,000 people fits in your world. All worlds aren't alike. Would it make sense to have a conversation to even discuss that? Is that coming across? Or is all the marketing materials you're seeing, people just want to throw out material?
A lot of material, before I get to it anyway, it's just, just throwing it out there, and this is what I do, or just one big thing, of what I do. And there's no why behind it. There's no passion behind it. There's no, and so that's kind of what you have to.
Well, I can see where that could be difficult for you, if I'm a potential client, I come to you and I got all this content that I want you to put in a brochure for me.
Oh,
And you got to tell them, hey, you don't need all that white space. I guess that's why it's a great name, because it's where you got to say, hey, are you really need all that content to elicit somebody just to pick up the phone? Or are you going to overage it? Are you going to give them intellectual paralysis? You're going to give them so much information they don't need to call you.
Right.
Does that happen?
When I have conversations with people, I'll be like, just talking, do you have a logo? Oh yeah. Do you like it? I love it. Great. Then that's not going to be something that I want to talk about with them.
Well, my answer would be why? Why do you love it? Tell me why. Why do you think your logo's working
Sure.
so well? Does
But
that
I have,
happen?
but you know, in the meantime, I have so many other services that they may be more interested in, you know, like, well, can I go out to your website? Oh, I don't have a website. That's something I can help you with,
Okay.
you know, and did you know that I also
Well,
help with
do
websites?
you,
And-
I assume you can design the websites
Mhm.
graphically.
Yeah.
Do you do the technical work too? As far as setting up their website, who's gonna be the host and all that kind of stuff? Are you involved in that?
Yeah, my husband has a company, Infinite Computer Solutions, and so he does web hosting. He's here, obviously.
Okay.
Still in Fort Collins. I would hope we would live together. You know, so he does the back end.
Okay. So it's,
Actually, I say I do the back end, so I do the pretty stuff. I put the graphics out there, I put the content out there, I, you know, make it look all pretty and then, so I'm the back end, and then my husband does the way back end. So
well,
he can do the
that's,
coding, he can do the hosting,
that's
he can
good to
do,
know. I
and
guess that's another service people should be aware of that. They should talk.
absolutely,
I did, yesterday I went on and made sure that our site here, we're in the ACA clubhouse and we're in the private booth, but I went on Yelp and I went on Google to make sure that Google Maps could find us. And since that time, I've had 14 companies call me about web hosting. Oh, we see that you listed on Google. I see that you're on Yelp. Do you know you need a website? And I don't want to go through one of those companies that I don't have a personal connection with.
right.
I'd rather go with somebody local like you. And I don't know if that's a mistake that some of our viewers are making, that they're just coming to some of these, you know, rubber stamp
You
kind
know,
of websites.
sometimes that's a good idea. Most of the time, especially for the very, you know, small business like me, just a one person show. Maybe you have two or three people, you know. I feel like you'll get back to customer service. You're gonna get so much better customer service because something that our clients tend to say to us is, wow, that you responded so fast.
Mhm.
And, you know, and we always respond if somebody has a question, like we have a lady down in Alabama who has a restaurant, and every week I put a new menu and she sends me the menu. I get it up there. I'll just shoot her an email or a text, done. So she knows it's done. She doesn't have to go look or check to make sure I did it, you know, or check back with me. Are you gonna put the new menu out or, you know, whatever? But I just let them know. It's just a little.
Well,
quick and
website is digital marketing. So
right.
let's, obviously it's important to have a website
Mhm.
because people are just expect it.
That's the first thing people do is if they hear about a business, they go out and they.
But as our membership here, nobody's going to join our membership in our club through the website.
Probably not.
No, I know that. There's nobody's going to say, oh,
They need
okay,
a
I'm going to,
vision.
how do I send him a check? So the website is just for that credibility.
Yeah. Presence
Unless
to make
somebody is,
sure that it's
unless somebody's selling the product online, selling it through their website, that's completely different.
Yeah.
But how important then, if the website is just for the credibility, you think some people just like go to GoDaddy and they create a website, a one page. What mistakes are people making? That small business guy, I know the big corporations with a marketing department, they're completely different. But that one man show, that one woman show, what are they making mistakes on in websites that you're seeing that you could help with?
Um, I think they're kind of missing out on potential customers by thinking that they can do something themselves when that's not their area of expertise. Um, there's so many people that are, oh, I can do that, but will you? You know, I have a friend who we went to the Renaissance Festival, and his son was looking at like the different swords and knives and stuff like that. And his dad is like, oh, we can make one. We could make one. And it's like, really? Are you gonna take the time and carve out this beautiful handle out of wood and forge a knife and make this beautiful, just spend a little money and
Yeah,
get
but that's,
something
is that
the
the excuse for
experts.
the small business person? Not, I'm gonna design a website because that's what I can afford. I can't afford somebody like you.
I think sometimes people think that it's more expensive than it really is. But then again, it is an investment. You have to call it an investment because it is kind of expensive sometimes, but it's not about no time and no priority, or it's not about no money or no time, it's no priority. That's not your priority, so you're just gonna, I just need something out there. So yeah, go ahead, go to Wix or GoDaddy or whatever and do something for free. But then all of a sudden, you wanna do things that that site is not capable of doing.
Okay, so that leads to this easy question. I always say, people don't buy your product or service, they buy solutions to their problem.
Mhm.
So what is the problem you're typically solving for somebody?
In what aspect, I guess, in websites and
When somebody
logos?
calls you and they've got a problem, what's that problem? Is that they're not getting enough leads, they're not getting enough traction? What is the problem? Why would somebody pick up the phone today and you think and call you?
Well, I mean, if it's right from the start, that they are just starting a business and they don't know.
Okay, so the
they don't have
problem
a
is
logo.
they don't know what they know, they don't know how to design
They
a
don't
logo.
know, they don't know what to do.
So what's
It
gonna
kind of depends on what
So what's
stage
gonna
of their,
stop those people? Hell, I'm gonna go to AI, I'm gonna go to a free logo design AI. What's the pitfalls with that?
well, that's gonna take up a lot of time that you're not working on your business.
Okay,
You're not out there networking and getting people interested in the service and what you're trying to get out there, right?
so if you design a
You
website.
can't just say, my website's gonna do it all.
Right,
Like the minute I hit go, like you see on the movies when they have this, oh, we got a website, okay, we're gonna make it live. And then all of a sudden they have 5,000 orders in 10 minutes and you're like, it does not happen that way. Just saying, it doesn't happen that way. And just have realistic expectations. You get what you pay for.
So, this is another difficult one. I hope you don't mind.
No.
So if you design a website for somebody,
Mhm.
what kind of legal protection do they have that somebody's not gonna come back and say that, oh, that's too close to theirs, or they copyrighted it, or any issues with that? Does that ever come up? No. Because
No,
you're creating from scratch. It's not.
created from scratch. I mean, if I tell them right off the bat, we can start with a template. I mean, it's something that has been paid for. It's not stolen. It's not, I mean, I think.
And you think that they should then make sure they do it on their own to go to trademark and get a trademark, that copyright, or that,
Not necessarily.
no, not important?
It depends.
Because there's a lot of companies out there, trademark.com, you can go in there and you pay the money and they go through or you can do it on your own, just go to the federal government and trademark your logo.
I actually learned way back when, and things could have changed. It's been 20 plus years, but that I was in school. That like if you create a logo, the best thing for you to do to protect yourself against somebody stealing your logo or parts of, stealing your identity, say, oh, I did this logo, is you print it out, like make a little letter, mail it to yourself, so it has a timestamp on it, and you put it in a drawer.
That's a great tip. I hope everybody took note of that. I hadn't all thought about that, but at least that way you're proving.
You're proving that I've had this logo since, 2002 when I designed it myself. And then plus, when it comes to logos, I have the original files. And so I can show that I'm the one that designed it. And, and if somebody is having an issue, they can say, hey, Janell, can you give me the original file or, whatever, or I can show that
Gotcha.
it's an original.
Well, I had a client back in Wisconsin who was in the Navy and he had an anchor tattoo.
Oh.
And so when he came up with his construction company was Anchor Home Remodeling.
Mhm.
What do you think about that when somebody takes a personalized thing? When I think anchor, I'm thinking, okay, an anchor is going to go through my roof. I'm thinking of a heavy metal object. I'm thinking, what does an anchor have to do with home construction? Do you have to sometimes work with people and say, hey, you're so close to your logo that maybe you're not seeing how it's really coming across?
Um, It could, I mean, if it's been designed, I mean, I guess that would be where we could, as a client and, you know, me and my client could brainstorm how to make it work. How can we make an anchor make sense? And really brainstorm. You can get out there and you can connect those dots if it's something that like the crane and the
Yeah.
and the massage therapy. I was like, how are we gonna put those together and make it a massage place that people want to go to? And luckily a crane is very
And your
cool and
logo for
beautiful.
your white space is, what was, I don't have your card in front of me, what, and I want to make people go to the website, so they're
Oh,
looking for
it's
logo.
kind of like the W is like upside down
Gotcha.
mountains, and then the I is
So give it to them again. What's the website?
whitespacegraphics.com.
White space, any commas, just white space all together.
Whitespacegraphics.com
All
is
right.
the
You should
website.
go to that now and go look at her logo.
Right.
Go look at 3D Pro Dot Services, that she designed that one for us also.
I have a gallery where you can look at all, not all, but a good portion of the logos that I've done, some brochures, some ads that I've done in the past.
For
So,
those of you online, I want you to think about the questions you might have. We have several people online. Think about any questions you might have. I'm going to let you, at this point, start wrapping up. What did we not talk about that you wanted to make sure we talked about? Then we'll come back and answer everybody's questions in the last few minutes. So is there anything we didn't talk about?
well, why don't we talk about I'm just going to go through, I came up with 8 visual examples of branding and 8 non-visual branding examples of how, just when you're thinking about your business and how you're representing yourself, just have these things in mind. So first, is of course for visual is the logo. Second would be the graphics that you choose to represent your logo. And I highly recommend using the same, whether it's stock photos. I use a lot of stock photos. Even with me, it doesn't have to be original. It's nice if they're original, but using the same graphics from your website to your brochure, just tying them together a little bit. Doesn't have to be exact, but just kind of getting that.
Keep that consistency
Keep the
going.
consistency. The typography, the fonts that you use, keep them consistent throughout, so that when they see things, it's very similar. The colors that you use, pick maybe 5 or 6 colors, a couple main colors, and then some accent colors, and just use those. You can vary, a little, but I think mostly just stay within those 5 to 6 colors.
Any colors we should stay away from, other than the blood for a doctor?
It honestly just depends on.
I mean, just was there something
what
that's not?
impression that you're, there's a whole nother podcast on color theory.
Well, that's what I was,
that
okay.
you could do.
All right.
Okay, so the next one would be like the way you dress and how you're representing your business. So the physical look is a visual brand for you when people are meeting you at a networking event. If you have an office or a store, what's that impression that you portray? Do you walk in, like, say it's a retail store? Is it completely packed like a hoarder's house with stuff? Or is it aesthetically beautiful and there's a path that you can go around the store to be able to see everything, So there, just
On those
little
rare
extras,
occasions.
if you have piles and piles of paper and you can't see over the person when they
Yeah.
come to your office, or is it, nice and clean, or,
It's kind of like the white space on your brochures. I think the same thing in stores.
white space does not necessarily mean white.
No, but this is some
Blank
space.
space,
When I walk on those rare occasions when I go shopping with my wife and she takes me into what I call craft crap stores. As soon as they're so cluttered and I feel like I'm gonna break something as soon as I move. So I'm almost like making that parallel that, boy, if you think about the white space or that open space in your brochure, does your storefront have that, or is it cluttered? Because I think that's that image people also are gonna get too.
Right.
Okay.
So then the next one would be your marketing materials and the consistency of brochures to business cards to promotional items that you choose to give away. I had a client, how are we doing on time?
No, we got a couple minutes. We're fine.
You know, like promotional materials. I had somebody that was a professional organizer, and so she did not want to give away a thing that it's gonna clutter up somebody's space. So we decided that we were gonna make tea bags. They could use it, discard it. And so it was, or another one was a flower. We gave away a flower and we branded it and we made like some tagline about, you know, why they're giving a flower for an organizing company.
So can I'm gonna stop you there a little bit for something I've got a pet peeve about. I got a stack of a bunch of business cards over there that I've collected at networking events, and I'm trying to do emails to them. And I can't read half of them because they've gone to these really great little purple colors and then they put black on purple, and I can't even read the emails. Or
they don't have an email. Have you seen those?
Not too many, but it just seems to me that, again, people aren't thinking about their card. It looks cool, but is it functional?
Right.
So I guess maybe that's something I was going as far as function.
Function, definitely, you know, especially a business card needs to be functional. It needs to have the information.
Well, I'm getting older, so it's hard for me to see to begin with, but
Right.
it makes everything so small.
Well, it is a small space to put
Well,
information. So,
some of the graphics look great on these cards we can show you, but as far as, and then go to look at the email, and the email, I can't, is that an R? Is that I can't tell the letters. And I put in yesterday my GMass mailer, probably about 50 business cards. And when I got done, there was like 10 of them that got kicked back because I didn't type it correctly because I couldn't read it.
Right.
So I guess maybe everybody should take a look at, is your business card effective and functioning? If you want people to email you, call you, can they really read it?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, again, that consistency of the font and all that.
Yep.
Instead of these crazy little fonts that people say it looks cute, but I can't read it.
And then, you know,
by the way, I want to remind people of that. My son just called me, but it reminded me, younger people don't know how to read script.
I know.
They can't, right. They didn't teach it in school. I couldn't believe I went and talked to this teacher and they said, oh, they'll never read it. So we're not teaching them that. Well, so if you use that as a font, you got to remember, a lot of people can't read it. They've never been taught how to read it.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's another point I just want to make.
Yeah.
Stop using that font.
Unless it's a decorative font that doesn't need to be read out, you know, like.
For design, the logo, but for
a photographer's logo, you know, maybe they use script fonts, but not for writing things out. Yes. Okay, so the last thing on visual branding is a cohesive across your print and your web and your social media, just being cohesive. And then the 8 non-visual branding is your attitude. What are you portraying when you're talking to people? Are you abrasive? Are you calming? Are you funny? And is that consistent with what your brand is all about when you're talking about your business? What is your style? That kind of fits in with attitude. You know, is your style funny? Is your style business-like? Is your style laid back? Is it, you know, in your face, kind of like Red Bull, or, you know, it's kind of that thing. You know, that's something you should be thinking about. What impression are you making of people? That's very non-visual, but it is a brand. If you're making a bad impression, you're not going to get a call from them.
Well, we talked earlier before you and I recorded this, that kind of goes with the dress. My pet peeve is people understanding what's business casual. I hate going to a networking event and somebody's wearing a non-collared shirt, or they're wearing, the painter's wearing, you know, his painter pants. Now, he might think that's appropriate, and I can see that on the job site, but not at a networking event. I just don't think we dress appropriately anymore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some of my younger students to, hey, don't wear jeans, just ratted up jeans. I don't care if that pair of designer jeans cost you $100. It's not appropriate in the business world.
Yeah. Just wear some khakis.
Khakis, yeah, business casual. Again, I always wear a collared shirt. You'll never see me walk in here.
My husband is the same way. He wears his collared shirts. And he's the only one in his office, and he'll just.
It amazes me that people don't brand their company.
I haven't done that. but
Well,
I,
Well, women are a little bit different. Women aren't typically wearing polo shirts.
right,
But if I see a guy wearing a polo shirt and he doesn't have his company logo, I'm thinking, why didn't he just go do that? He spent 50 bucks for that polo shirt or that jersey. Why doesn't he go spend money to have a logo?
Right.
You're always out there branding your company, branding.
impression, yeah. Okay, so then we touched on customer service. That's a dying art.
Mm.
Bring it
Customer-
back,
customer
please,
care,
bring it back.
Customer care. Think
Bring it
about that.
back.
Do you care about your customer?
You know, your reliability is something people can rely on you for a business. How you handle conflict, I think that's a big one. You know, how, you know, are you gonna start yelling back at somebody if you don't agree with what they say? You know, somebody doesn't like their logo, and I keep telling them, I say, you have to be critical. This is the time for you to say you don't like something that I've designed, because I'm not gonna, it's your design, not
Gotcha.
mine. I need to know that you don't like something, otherwise I can't change it. You know, how you partner with people, you know, especially trying to partner with people in like areas of business, and using them to your advantage and not as a competitor, you know. And you know, I use some designers and I throw ideas off of them. I'm like, I'm having an issue, or I'm blacked out. I can't think of anything. Help. You know, I'm like, I sit down and I'm like, I can't design anything right now, you know, so I reach out and I have partners that can
Good for
help me.
you.
And then,
Strategic alliances.
and
Yeah.
right, exactly. And then do what you say you're gonna do. If you say you're gonna do something, either do it or communicate that you can't do it, or, you know, I mean, just communication is key, I think, so.
I don't think anybody would argue with you that. It's just that, do they implement it?
You know?
You know, that's what it comes down to. Are you going to be successful?
Ghosting is so popular, right? I mean, that's like, it's a term now,
Good
that
thing we
people
didn't.
just go away.
Good thing we didn't have that when I was in high school. They all would have ghosted me, all the girls. So, all right, appreciate it very much. So let's do it
Thank you for
again. Your
having me.
website so that people can contact you.
Yes, my website is whitespacegraphics.com. My email is Janell, Janell, Janell @whitespacegraphics.com. And my phone number is 970-420-4363.
Okay. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel and you haven't subscribed, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. The more.
Oh, and I'm a part of the ACA. I'm a
Yep.
board
So
member.
we're
of
here at the
Club.
ACA. So those of you that want to do one of my podcasts, let me know. Reach out to me again, wayne.dehn@acanetwork.org. That's my website, 970-286-5665. And if you want to be on one of my websites, again, one of my podcasts, we do this every Thursday. Not next week because it's the day after Christmas, but call me and say if you've got something. Again, what I want to put in here is information of content of relevance to you. I don't want this to be my advertisement. I have a lot of times when I can give you some information free about sales training, but if you have something that you believe could help other members, please reach out to me and we'll schedule it. So thank you, young lady.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you
It
again.
was
Happy
fun.
Merry Christmas. And we thank everybody for joining us.
Bye.